We are here today to inform and educate. The Water Association was created as an educational outreach arm for water community and water issues in Kern County. Most likely, you've seen our Magic of Water, our wraps on water towers and our buses, wraps throughout town. Our towers are on 178, 58, 99, I-5, showing our whimsical genies and fairies and dragons, showing the magic that the agriculture industry uses to transform water to crops. Most recently, we've also, in December of 2020, we launched a History of Water campaign to honor the past and celebrate the strides that our county has done with water. So our first wrap was at Elta Home and Chester Avenue in Oildale, and this was also accompanied by a YouTube video, thank you, sharing the history and transformation of water rights in Kern County through the years. Most recently, last month, we debuted this tank on Laredale Highway and Highway 99 in collaboration with the city of Shafter. So if you haven't seen this one, it's quite massive wrap, probably one of our largest that we've done so far, kind of showing the history of agriculture and water use in Shafter, with those beautiful cotton plants and potatoes, showing how agriculture has evolved in our county. What we're here today is about our water conservation campaigns that we focus on every summer. During the summer months, this year we revamped our campaign beyond our traditional social media platforms that we've used in the past and increased our outreach efforts using our hashtag Don'tBeThatGuyKC, and those are our social media outlets as well. But this year we also participated in TV segments on ABC 23, Fox 58, appearances on Kern Living and Studio 17 Live, all focusing on water conservation messages and outreach. We've also been on the Terry Maxwell Show talking about water conservation, and a fun partnership that Kevin might talk about briefly too with La Rosa Fruit Bars and Cal Water, with a fun Cal Watermelon, cucumber watermelon fruit bar that La Rosa creates, and all the proceeds benefit our water conservation campaign. So that was very fun to be a part of that. We've also done some radio advertisements. Maybe you've heard them on KMZR or KUZZ with water saving tips and tricks. We've also done some internet advertisements through Spectrum, displaying water conservation ideas, as well as some billboards unveiled throughout town using that "Don't Be That Guy" conservation message. And then, of course, our water conservation campaign would not be made possible without our contributors. So we're very thankful to all of our contributors for helping our campaign expand and grow this year. So what we are here today is for what are we doing for water conservation? What in Kern County are we helping? What efforts are we doing? So we have our three panelists here today with us to tell us about their efforts and what they are focusing on for water conservation. So I'll give a brief little intro with our gentleman here. We have Greg Hammett. He was the general manager of Belridge Water Storage District from 2000 to 2019, and co-managed the Brenda Mesa Water District from 2010 to 2018. He is currently the general manager at West Kern Water District since March of 2019. He received a Bachelor's of Science degree in geology with an emphasis in hydrology from Cal State Bakersfield, and he is a registered geologist in the state of California. We also have Kevin McCusker from Cal Water. He's the manager of the community affairs for California Water Service Company. Before this role, he was the regional community affairs specialist for Cal Water for nearly 5 years. His background is in news reporting and journalism prior to entering the public affairs industry. Kevin also holds a master's degree in international marketing management from Boston University. And we have Deryk Gross, who's the director of home building with Castle and Cooke. Deryk is a procurement and operations specialist in the home building industry, working with large production builders and contractors over the last 20 years. His current duties include management all home building operations for Castle and Cooke. Prior to Castle and Cooke, he was the procurement and operations manager for Dunmore Homes in California. He is currently serving on the Home Builders Association of Kern County Water Directors. And he's a graduate from the University of the Pacific. And he was also on the baseball team and was a former Minnesota Twins minor league player. Fun little snippets. So we'll start with just some overview from each of these gentlemen about their companies and their general efforts. So we're going to start with Greg, who's going to kick us off.
Thank you, Jenny. So I thought let's start with an overview and pull this up of what is probably nearly impossible to read map of the West Kern service area. So the service area outlined in black, just for some reference, I guess. Pointer, City of Taft's right here, McCusker, Maricopa, I-5, the Aqueduct, Taft Highway. Little over 317 square miles that the district covers. Most of it is, a lot of it is an oil field and chaparral grass, if you will. We have 2 well fields. We have a north well field up here near Stockdale Highway. 5 wells on that well field, and then the other 8 well fields, so a total of 13 are in our south project here, just north of Taft Highway and just off Tucker Road. Again, mentioned 13 wells. 4 of those are run off of natural gas exclusively. The other 9 wells are electric / solar. We have over 250 miles of pipeline. The water is pumped from a well field to the main pumping station here at Taft Highway, and just as you start over Elk Hills, it's pumped from there into about 11 miles to the B station, and then from there it gets distributed through the rest of the district. 25 tanks total in our system, and 11 pumping plants. So there's a lot of moving parts. There's a lot of ways that we can move water around in the district. As you can imagine, if you have an issue with one pumping plant, you've got to have some flexibility to move keep water moving to folks. So from an operational standpoint, it can be a little bit of a challenge, but to make it work. It's an old system, as you can imagine. Some of the older pipelines that we excavate are all old oil field casing that they used to dip in tar. They used to have a tar pit out in the back of the district office. They used to dip it, cure it, and put it into place. So we're still dealing with that 50, 60, 70-year-old pipe. 43 employees total in the district. And as Jenny mentioned, I've been there since March of 2019 and have enjoyed my time there. So I thought I'd just kind of move on here to some of our conservation efforts and programs. We've got public outreach. The district has a chair or a seat on the Chamber of Commerce Board, which I sit on. So we use that as an opportunity to preach the message of conservation. Things when the time comes. Service organizations, I've given speeches, Rotary clubs, Kiwanis. We have billboards around town, sweep your sidewalks off, your driveways, that type of thing. We have a grade school, the elementary program that Linked for Ed, I think is what Jeannie Vargas' company's name, her and Sarah Clayton. They put together a nice little curriculum-based program. It's distributed to the various grade schools in the district. Water education message, but it's pretty heavy in conservation as well. Presence on social media will get the message out there as well. leak detection program. That's kind of a twofold. It's a conservation program for us as well. Obviously, we try to detect leaks early and often, but it's also a damage control for out in Taft. The soils out in Taft tend to collapse when they get wet. So to try to avoid as many tort claims as we can, we have a pretty robust leak detection program. We do the water system audits for folks, go out and check their sprinkler systems, timers, different other types of things. And then with a pretty effective rebate program for toilets, clothes washers, smart controllers. And then because of the governor's recent mandate, we've expanded our customer outreach, through articles in the newspaper. And again, I've been going to more service organizations and preaching the conservation message as well. So, do you want me to roll into my slide, or you want me to just keep going? I just have one more slide left, so I'll just go into that and talk about our rebate program. So we did a little study at West Kern looking at our program. It started back in 2013. 2013, 2019, we've given out rebates on about 217 toilets, 281 washers, and 3 smart controllers. We gave out almost $90,000 in rebates and saved about 13 acre-feet of water. If we do the math, it's about 6,600 acre-feet for all the water, for each acre-foot of water we save. It's pretty pricey. Now you aggregate that 13 acre-feet over the entire state, it starts to get to be a big number. But I guess my point is that these rebate programs, they're kind of sexy, everybody's doing them, but they are expensive. I think in the future, we've got to kind of take a look at, based on the study, what we're going to do with this money. With that $89,000 that would have been spent better somewhere else, got a bigger bang for a buck. 13 and a half acre feet, it's a lot of toilet flushes and a lot of a lot of loads of clothes, but we're trying to do what we can, meet some of the mandates of our urban water management plan, and again, keep the conservation message going. So, I think that's all I've got for now.
Question.
Yes?
Do you offer that to new construction as well as existing?
No, it's all existing. The new construction have to live by the new plumbing code, so they're already there. But it's we every month, we're getting, that's pretty steady. We get checks out to folks with toilets, washing machines. We've had some shysters that try to, come in 2 or 3 times, and I know. And the story was when Harry Starkey was out there, he had to go chase some guy down that had gone in and got a rebate for like 13 toilets, and he was going to giving them out to friends and family, other places. So Harry actually went out and rounded them all up and brought them back. So it's kind of pretty funny. But anyway. If there's any other questions, happy to answer.
Thanks. We'll lead in to Kevin. Do you want to go next?
Sure.
Good afternoon. My name is Kevin McCusker. I'm the Community Affairs Manager for Cal Water. I want to point out too that also from Cal Water, Tammy Johnson is here. She's our district manager. So I talk about water. Tammy actually is the one who runs the potable water system for Cal Water in Bakersfield, as well as for the city of Bakersfield. So she's the actual water expert. I'm just a talker. So by way of a little bit of background, I don't want to bog it down too much, but Cal Water's been in Bakersfield since 1926. We really run 2 public water systems here. We own and operate a water system that covers roughly 60-70% of the city. The city of Bakersfield owns its own water system but contracts with us to operate and maintain it. That covers roughly another 30% of the city, give or take. And so we run those 2 systems together. We have a combination of groundwater and purchase water. We purchase water from the City of Bakersfield itself, as well as Kern County Water Agency. Got 130 wells, 56 surface structures, and there's a little bit of a map there to kind of give you an idea of where the two systems, where our system is, and there are some other water purveyors, like Oildale, Mutual, Bonds, East Nile. There are some other potable water purveyors here, but Cal Water very much the potable water and wastewater. But we don't have a wastewater interest here in Bakersfield, but those are the two things we do as opposed to larger scale wholesaling or ag water. Again, just a very brief look, a simple look at the way that our types of customers are. Single, residential customers make up 90% of our customers. They comprise about 71% of the water use, and you can kind of see the breakdown between the different customer categories, types, as well as the different demands that they have. These are kind of hard to see, but I wanted to point them out. This is a fairly well-informed crowd when it comes to water, so most of this will be self-evident, but in many cases when I'm dealing with less knowledgeable people about water, it's important to point out, I think, that population goes up, which also drives up projected services. So those things go up, even as conservation and demand management drives down individual demand. So you have a growing number of service connections in need of water, even though each service connection in and of itself uses less over time. And this is kind of the projection in our most recent update to the Urban Water Management Plan, which takes us out to 2050, and where we see the total demand. About an 18% increase relative to current, which is total demand for the service area, even though, as I said, each individual service connection is using less water. The total demand goes up with the increase in population. Also worth noting, there is what's called the 20 by 20 bill, passed some time ago, just prior, not too long prior to Sigma. And the target there was to have a 20% reduction by 2020, and Bakersfield, our service district in Bakersfield, has hit that target. This is to kind of talk about the ongoing nature of water conservation. We're in a drought right now, obviously, and it becomes a high priority, but it's something that Cal Water is dedicated to at all times. One of the key reasons being demand management is a more cost-effective way than new sourcing in many ways. Demand management has an important role to play in those things. Some of the things that are available for us, we want to highlight our rebate program. We also have rebates for high-efficiency toilets, washers, irrigation controllers. These are the residential ones. The Smart Landscape Tune-Up program I'm going to talk about here in a little bit, in a little bit more detail. But we also have water efficiency programs and rebates available for commercial customers. And if anybody's interested, I have business cards up here. Happy to put you in touch with our conservation people to get you signed up for programs, either for your residents or your commercial interest if you are a Cal Water customer. We also do these customized incentives, and the Smart Landscape Tune-Up program is also available for commercial customers. The Smart Landscape Tune-Up program I want to highlight because it's new this year. This is not something that we had in place during the 2015 drought cycle. And this is kind of an interesting program. So you have to sign up. The funding is limited, so there is limited eligibility. But it is still currently open. If you register, you'll be contacted and we will send a contractor out to your location, whether that be your residence or your business. That contractor will do an evaluation or an audit of your outdoor irrigation system. Then you'll get a follow-up call from the folks at the Cal Water conservation team. If you follow the recommended changes, you can have those adjustments made at no cost. So you can get those improvements done to your irrigation system at no additional cost, funded through our conservation program. And that is available at calwater.com/conservation. wanted to highlight again that this is an ongoing thing for us that's not necessarily, that doesn't stop and start in the drought cycles. Just in 2019, which was the most recent data that I had where I could sum up everything, those conservation programs just from 2019, 22 million gallons worth of water conserved, and another, a total of 293 million gallons over their total lifetime. And if you trace this back to 2011, here in Bakersfield, these numbers are specific to the Bakersfield service area. The conservation programs in place since 2011, 2 billion gallons of lifetime cumulative savings. This is available also at calwater.com/conservation. These are a list of some of the prohibited uses of water. We're not out policing these things, but we are trying to educate people to make sure that they understand that there are things they can do, particularly in their landscape environment, to realize water savings, which also helps with your water bill. This is a little bit difficult to read, so I apologize for that. This is kind of tracking historical usage, going all the way back to 2013. Obviously, the new mandate is a 15% decrease over 2020. However, in the 2015 cycle, the benchmark year was 2013. So I wanted to kind of plot out some of the reductions there. So you can see that there's a little bit of a bounce back factor, but we're still well below where we were in previous cycles. And that's a testament to the people of Bakersfield that take this situation so seriously. And I wanted to just kind of highlight too about the reduction of water loss, also a key factor for Cal Water. And this is not specific to Bakersfield. This is just the way we score main replacement in particular, to go in and replace aging main. I think we're all aware that we have a lot of infrastructure in the ground, Cal Water and other water entities, that is reaching the end of its useful lifespan. And it behooves us to go in and address those. And this is the way we kind of score the main to be replaced. Not only the likelihood of failure, but the consequence of failure. So a water failure at my house would be potentially less consequential than a water failure that serves a dialysis center. So the consequence as well as the likelihood. And that's about it. Question? Yes, sir.
Does Cal Water offer a service or program that if they notice in their system that there's a constant flow of water, say it's a residential house, you contact that customer to let them know that, hey, there's something that probably doesn't look right here, you may want to check your fixtures. And I only bring that up because my mother-in-law has a house in San Diego County. She got contacted, and there's a number of bathrooms in the house, and apparently one that wasn't being used very often, the toilet flap was, and we went back and corrected it and took care of the problem. We got off the same thing.
Not as programmatically as we would like to. So we do discuss those with customers when they call in and they have unexpected high usage, to talk through it and try and identify. We're kind of in the early planning phases of trying to figure out a better way to be more proactive in that. The other kind of avenue for that we would like to embark on with the cooperation of the Public Utilities Commission at some point would be to move towards more of an automated metering infrastructure, so that you can see your water use in real time as well as us, and maybe kind of troubleshoot those things on the fly. You can also get a one-time bill adjustment if you do have a leak and you inform us of it. You can get a bill adjustment on some of those things as long as you get it fixed in a timely fashion.
Well, what's interesting is we didn't notice it, but the
The
city
San Diego,
noticed it and
yeah.
said, hey, this is something that's not normal.
Yeah, we try to, it does come up, it comes up more incrementally than we would like, and so that's one of the things we're trying to think our way through is, and we probably should contact the folks in San Diego to find
Now,
out
City of Carlsbad,
what they're doing. Is it Carlsbad or?
City of Carlsbad.
Okay. I'll make a note of it. Anybody else? Yeah?
Your areas in town that have broken lines, like on Gosford or major streets like that, where if you're out and about in the middle of the night, you see the stuff running. Do you have somebody in your department that goes around and makes sure, or tries to make sure that water's just not flowing?
We did, yeah,
You know, I've called numerous times.
you've called Cal Water and
Yeah,
not
yeah.
gotten a response?
No, I didn't say that.
Oh,
I said I've called numerous times.
Yeah, we can't necessarily, we're not patrolling 24 hours a day. Since we don't have automated metering, we do have still a meter reading crew. That's one of the things that we have people out in the system every day. Our certified pump operators are going through the system. They're supposed to report what they see. The meter readers are supposed to report what they see. And so we do catch a lot of that on our own. When we don't catch it, then we rely on customers to report
If
it.
it's in the middle of the night, 1, 2, 3, or 4 o'clock in the morning, and you guys don't start until 8, the water's off, and gone.
Yeah, well, we do have a SCADA system where we're trying to check pressure and the water flow 24 hours. So we do have an automated system on that. And
I think it's more talking about people that are overwatering and creating runoff onto the street. And are we policing that at real time, or because by the time our employees are starting their workday,
Yeah.
that water's not running anymore.
Okay.
And so we still, if a customer calls us or a resident calls us, we still follow up on that with the customer the next day or right after you call us and ask them to adjust their sprinklers.
Like the medians, what I'm talking
Yeah.
about, that's not a homeowner, that's
And,
That's the city.
and I'll tell you, we've been proactively meeting with the new director of Parks and Rec, who maintains that for the city of Bakersfield. Mr. Anthony is new in his position, and we had several meetings with him to try to help them, have us help them help that situation. So that's a recent.
Making some progress there too, I think, to make some adjustments on the irrigation in those public spaces.
Yes.
There is also, we have somebody answering the phones 24/7. You're not going to get a voicemail. We have 24/7 phone response.
live people.
Live people. But in addition, this one here, if you see water waste, you can report it. But we don't currently have anybody like a code enforcement person driving around. We do not. I misunderstood your question, so I apologize.
Do you see the same cost of the rebate program as we shared before?
Yeah, we regularly get interest, and so part of our work with the Public Utilities Commission is the Public Utilities Commission has to approve our conservation budget for every district. So regulated water is different than regulated power in that the rates and the cost of service is highly localized. So the conservation budget and the cost of service in Bakersfield is not necessarily the conservation budget in the city of Atherton. So we have to go through, and we do aggressively expend that conservation budget district by district in order to make sure that we can get additional approval from the Public Utilities Commission. Otherwise, if we don't expend the conservation budget, if we can't show the results, then we can't get those programs enabled through the commission, which has to approve pretty much every single facet of our business.
I think she's asking, does it cost Cal Water the same amount of money that it's costing West Kern for their conservation program? Are we spending over $6,000 an acre foot?
That, I could get you the information. I don't have that information.
It's okay, I don't need it, I was just curious.
I don't have the information at the top of my head, I'm sorry. Anybody else? Yes, sir.
On your program where you have a contractor coming up and check outside irrigation at homes, what are the typical improvements that they're able to make, and do you have an average cost?
We don't have an average cost yet because it's a new program, so it's really just a pilot approach that we're trying. We're kind of excited about it though. The typical things that we're expecting to find as it unfolds is obviously things like breaks, line breaks and broken heads, misaligned heads, old heads that could be more efficient. older irrigation controllers that don't allow for the number of watering instances. So you always want, the goal should be, in most cases, is if you're allowed to say water for 30 minutes on your watering day, instead of having the system run for 30 minutes, you'd like to cycle through, 5 instances of 3 minutes each at each station, because you're going to get the best penetration. It's going to really, you're not going to lose it through evaporation as much. So you're going to try and, but older controllers don't always allow for as many instances of irrigation. So that's another thing that we think is going to be fairly common this year as we go through this program. Broken lines, broken heads, old heads, misaligned heads, and outdated irrigation controllers. As well as, obviously, landscaping choices that people can make, although that's not necessarily part of the tune-up program. There is a possibility a turf replacement program could be opening up soon.
Any other questions for Kevin?
Jenny,
Yes.
I'd like to make a statement at this
Yes.
point. I just want to point out and give credit to Cal Water. They came up with this program, and Jenny mentioned it, with the Largosa popsicles.
Fruit bars.
They had a special popsicle made out of watermelon flavored, and they donated the proceeds to Water Association of Kern County so we can continue the programs that we have going, and it's my understanding that amounted to about $2,500. So we've got to thank Cal Water.
Okay, so we're gonna head into Deryk now.
Morning. My name is Deryk. I'm with Cooke. I'm the director of Home Building, and I'm here to share the boring stuff of the program. So here we go. Just a quick overview of Cooke. We've been part of the community since 1987, providing stewardship for retail, recreation, and residential development. Our primary goal for each project is to put that extra special something into it. This is exemplified through our popular west side shops of Riverwalk, Gosford Village, and the Marketplace. Recreation opportunities through parks, community clubhouses, and the Seven Oaks Country Club, all made possible by the development of over 11,000 lots in Southwest Bakersfield. Each community, Seven Oaks, Grand Island, the Villas, Windermere, Village Green, University Park, Brighton Parks, Brighton Place, Brighton Estates, and now Highgate at Seven Oaks, provides a unique and specific housing for our region. With each development, we've pushed the envelope to conserve energy. And now at Highgate at Seven Oaks, we're pushing water conservation through active compliance with the state's Model Water Efficiency Landscape Ordinance, the use of efficient plumbing fixtures, and our hot water delivery system. So, thank you. The hot water delivery system was created in response to the 2015 code ordinance with a model water efficiency landscape solution. Essentially, it implemented in the building code that we had to reduce the amount of grass you place in your landscape. So if you're selling a home and suddenly you don't have grass in the front yard, it becomes a question. How do you answer that question to the homeowner? Why can't I have grass if you're trying to reduce water, but yet it takes 2 minutes for my hot water to get to my kitchen sink? So we had to develop an answer to that question. How do you sell that to a homeowner? Well, what we did is we started talking to our plumber, and we found a hot water guru named Deryk. And he showed us the system, and this is what we bring to the table today. The system is comprised of basically a hot water loop, a recirculating pump, and then the twigs to the plumbing fixtures is where you get your water, kitchen faucet, bathroom faucet, and then motion sensors. And the whole idea behind it is, if you take a practical use during the beginning of the day, you typically go to the water closet first. You walk past the motion sensor, which triggers the recirc pump, which pushes the water through the system, activates the hot water tankless system, and loads the line with hot water. So as soon as you walk to your faucet and turn it on, all it has to do is exhaust the water that's in that twig line to that faucet. So the key element here is to get your hot water loop as close as you can to the twig line. Through interaction with Deryk and our plumber, we figured this out. So now we're able to deliver hot water to your faucet in 20 seconds or less. Thus, eliminating the waste portion during that line. So if you think about it, next time you go over there and you turn on your kitchen sink, you sit there and wait for hot water, you start thinking about it, all that water is going down the drain. That was our answer to how come you have less grass. The practicality of it also is shown through when our plumber, who was always skeptical of the system, decided to buy a home in Highgate. You know, there's always problems that we were talking about, temperature control, cold water sandwiches, and he just kept thinking, this isn't worth it, you're spending too much money. Well, one day, during a conversation, he told me the best feature in our home wasn't the expensive granite countertop that he bought, or the tile he put everywhere, or the flooring. He said the best feature is that hot water system. Every morning he goes up, uses the water closet, does his thing, comes back, turns on the shower, and walks in the shower. He doesn't wait for hot water. He doesn't go do something else and come back to the shower. He says, I walk in the shower. The thing he knows is when he turns on his dishwasher, hot water is there for every cycle, not the last cycle. This is validation that a system has the ability to deliver hot water in 20 seconds and achieve the goal of reducing wastewater. This is our main water conservation effort in Highgate suburbs.
And that's a tankless water system, not a
Correct.
water heater. So we're just, you know.
So when you load the line through the recirc pump, the water is moving through the tankless water heater, and that's what activates the tankless water system. So we're used to a big tank system, and it heats the water, and it gets it all hot, and that system itself, it sits there and waits for us to activate it. Tankless is activated through pressure through the system itself with water.
And you any studies that increase or decrease your gas usage?
That's yet to be proven too. If it's loading and it's creating hot water in the loop, the hot water is there for you to utilize, so you're not activating it again. One of the tricks that is involved with the recirc pump that we have with Deryk is there's a chip in there that actually reads the water temperature as it moves through the line. So when it reaches in a range or a delta area, it shuts off the system. So even though if you activate the system again, it will go through it, and if the water is a certain temperature, it will not activate itself again.
Would it be practical or too expensive to retrofit existing homes to this kind of a system?
No. The only downfall of retrofitting existing homes is the loop location to the twig line itself.
What do you call that, the what line?
The hot water trunk line. It's the main line that moves around. So that's in your house, and you can create a loop by the connection at its furthest point. The only downfall is that loop might not be as close to your plumbing fixture as you like, but it still is practical use. In fact, there's a retrofit recirc pump that actually can be placed in your furthest point in your house and activate it. You can go up there, push the button, activate it, it starts the process. If you have an estimate, actually with a tank system.
Do you have an estimate of how many gallons you're saving, not going down the drain every day?
The simplest way we put it is if it takes 2 minutes for you to get hot water at your kitchen sink and the fixture's rated at 1.8 gallons per minute, it's 3 gallons of water.
Every time you use it.
Every time it turns it on, if you have to wait. That was our answer. This is our answer to the question why I don't get a lot of grass, and the response of, well, the state's reduced the amount of grass because they're conserving water. But yet you walk into your house, you turn on your faucet, and you wait for water. It didn't make sense to us. Any question? Thank you.
Okay. Okay.
Thank you, gentlemen, for your insight into water conservation, and hopefully you all are leaving here today a little bit more knowledgeable about things you can do for water conservation. Just a quick save the date. Our annual meeting for the Water Association is set for Tuesday, November 9th, so we hope to see you there. That concludes our meeting today. Thank you.